welcome everyone to the Air Force HBCU MSI Outreach Initiative Ask Me Anything event. I'm excited to have all of the small businesses here, as well as the university, academia, professionals, students, entrepreneurs, of course, here at our last Ask Me Anything of the year. It's been a great year having just a lineup of speakers. I want to say I saved the best for last for the year. We'll pick back up again in either January or February, but stay tuned for the actual dates of when we're going to pick it back up again next year. But so glad to have everyone here today for this exciting initiative. We have Ms. Lauren Tiffan from the Entrepreneur Center and Lekeisha Grant, also from the Entrepreneur Center, really leading the way. And talk about experts in getting entrepreneurs where they need to be, academia, universities, where they need to be in terms of small business funding opportunities and resources. So great to have these ladies here today. Before we get started, we'll just go through a few slides, talk about housekeeping, and what is the Air Force Small Business Technology Transfer Program and the Air Force Outreach Initiative. So at the end, we will have, if you have any questions, you can feel free to use the chat box for questions, and we will get to those questions at the end of the presentation today. So the Air Force STTR program is here to encourage and engage participation amongst universities and small businesses to partner with the Air Force. We're looking for goods and services that can be used for our military sector primarily, and as a bonus, our commercial sector. So things that you may be using in your commercial sector, we can apply those to the technology development of our military and our war fighters, our aircraft, our platforms. And so there's just a breadth of needs that we have. And so we're always looking to partner with industry in order to meet those goals. To be eligible for an Air Force Small Business Technology Transfer Program contract, you must be a small business or a research institution. You must be a for-profit business with 500 or less employees. And for a research institution, a college, a university, a nonprofit research institution, or a federally funded development center, an FFRDC. So where are we investing? When it comes to our Air Force problems or Air Force needs, we look at urgent needs, things that are happening. Hey, we really need this within the next year, 6 months. To what's kind of relevant technology that's going on for our warfighters and our industry. We look at our service corps functions, and then those revolutionary, that game-changing technology areas that we are really competitive against our national defenses in order to meet those needs. So when we put out our open topics every year, we have what are called focus areas, and we invest those focus areas in and we also have specific topics where we focus those areas in different ways. We invest in companies and universities through 3 different phases. Phase 1 is that concept development. You're doing a feasibility study. Our open topics are awarded at $50K, and some of our specific topics are awarded at $150K. For phase 2, you're doing a demonstration and prototype. Those are awarded at $750K up to $1.5 million. And then from there, we have what's phase 3, or that commercialization and technology transition into a program of record. And those funding amounts vary pretty widely. And so as a result, you're demonstrating relevance in our technology, you're fueling the economy, we have technology transition, and we're fielding those capabilities into our Air Force programs. Next slide. So here's the slide that kind of breaks down for as far as the Air Force Small Business Technology Transfer Program. 40% of the work must be done by the small business, and 30% must be done by the research institution, which leaves 30% for you to bring in other partners or split that up amongst the research institution or small business, All of that is left up to you. The small business is the one that holds the contract. They own that contract and they partner with the university or research institution. And that principal investigator must be employed or contracted at least 50% of the time. And that person can be either within the research institution or that small business. Upcoming, our solicitation cycle, we're starting over for the fiscal year 2022. And that kicks off, that pre-release kicks off November 23rd. So coming up this month. The actual announcement will open from January 5th until February 10th. So that leaves you from November through January to kind of look at, hey, here's what the Air Force is most likely going to put in our solicitation schedule. So that you can start preparing for your proposals. Next slide. The Air Force Outreach Initiative has seen a lot of success within the last 18 or so months that we've kicked off. We've already invested and have contracts with whether it's their spin-out organizations, spin-out companies from HBCUs, or HBCUs have been awarded contracts through the Air Force of over $3 million in awards to businesses that have not and universities that have not participated in the SBIR program in over 5 years. So to see that big success and turnaround in just 3 years, in just less than 2 years, has been outstanding. This is a $97 million program. We're looking to get all types of new opportunities and funding and research and development and partnerships from small businesses and research institutions, and especially doing an outreach to our HBCUs and minority serving institutions and underrepresented groups and small businesses. So we're looking to address those barriers to that acquisition process, help you understand, hey, how's that solicitation, the lengthy, cumbersome proposal processes, kind of eliminating that, and reach thinkers who otherwise would not have considered working with the Air Force and doing business. And so we're looking to partner with you. That is our email address there. You can note that. So if you have any other questions or follow-ups or opportunities, feel free to connect with us there. These are some of the funded program opportunities. All of the slides will be available to you after this call, but please, I encourage you to look at these sites, see the opportunities that are available for funding. I'm all about making sure if we're providing outreach to you, there needs to be money set aside to back that up, to help assist you with getting involved in that. Next slide. So feel free to next steps, connect and engage with us, subscribe to our newsletter, continue to come to our Ask Me Anything events and connect on social media. We utilize LinkedIn and Twitter. And so grab these links in the chat box, and we'll be sure to make sure we connect with you. And so I see one question in the chat already from Vaughn. Can the small business be partner with a nonprofit research institution, as long as they're partnered with the research institution? Yeah, there's a little bit more paperwork that may have to be involved with doing that, but there are some various approaches to being able to participate in the program. If you're a small business, SBE and nonprofit, and you partner with the research institution. So yes. And Air Force is just one SBIR sitter. There's plenty of other agencies that participate in SBIR sitter. I'm sure you could find a good fit for the technology that you're developing in that. And so we're just all trying to win and partner with industry engagement. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Lauren and Lekeisha. Lauren has been with the Entrepreneur Center since I think 2018, has been leading part of their SBIR Technology Accelerator Program, ensuring small businesses have what they need to be successful while they're in small business, and really has come in and captivated that program and helped a lot of companies to prosper and just really explore what we can do in that. Lekeisha has come on board working with the SBIR and Sitter program. She just recently completed a cohort of Project Ingenuity, which focused on minority businesses, Black-owned, women-owned businesses to get SBIR and SITR support and success in doing proposals for various agencies across the United States government. Just doing an excellent job. Also assisting with our technology accelerator program for the AFWorks SBIR and SITR program. And so with that said, I'm sure they have a whole lot of hosts of other things that they are really involved in working with small businesses. So with that, I would pass it over to you, ladies.
Thank you, Anissa. What's going on, everybody? Lekeisha and I are super excited to be here, and we're grateful for Anissa for inviting us to come hang out with you guys today. So we just want to spend a few minutes with you telling you who we are, the kind of services that Entrepreneur Center has and can offer, but also actually digging in a little bit and talking about your small businesses and helping you understand, like, hey, what are some actual tactical, practical tools that I can use to help me drive meaningful connections and commercialization resources. So again, my name is Lauren. Lekeisha and I are from Entrepreneur Center. So Entrepreneur Center is a modern economic development firm located in Dayton, Ohio. And so essentially what it is for the last 20 years, we have been helping all kinds of small businesses and startups start, ideate, innovate, scale, and commercialize R&D. And that last bit, commercializing R&D, we've been working with AFRL and Small Business Office for about the last 7 years to do specific trainings for small businesses like you who want to go after that SBIR, STTR program and figure out how to scale your businesses along with that program. We've got an awesome team that we get to do this with. And so our team is full of entrepreneurs and self-starters, and I think everyone has a side hustle or has had or currently has a side hustle. Lekeisha is a small business owner herself. I started my first startup when I was 19. Paul has run other state and federal programs before. Travis is a former CO, and Scott, well, he's done it all. So we've got an amazing team, and this isn't even all of them that we get to work with small businesses just like you. So we wanted to take a few minutes and just tell you all about some of the specific programs we run, and I'm going to let Lekeisha kick us off.
Good morning, everyone. So to begin, we'll just start off with our Small Business Development Center. So what you see on the screen is a list of several different programs, accelerators that we run throughout the Entrepreneur Center. We're going to start with the Small Business Development Center because that's really one of the best starting points for anyone starting a business. One of our top attended classes is a new business information where we go through and we talk to you about all the things specific very much so to your state because the Small Business Development Center is a national program. We are under Ohio SBDC, which is under America's SBDC. So we start there with understanding how to get started, and some of that is just a thinking process of what do you need to think about before you even say, I want to start a business? What does that look like financially for your family? What does that look like in terms of savings? Where is the money going to come from to initially start your business? All of those things are some of the things that we start with the SBDC, as well as the beginning of the business planning process, which then leads us into some of our other training programs. So Lauren will give you a little bit more about some of our additional training programs.
Perfect. So to Lekeisha's point, once someone has gone through and met with some of the resources that we offer with our Small Business Development Center, we have a lot of different types of opportunities for trainings, right? So we have accelerators and programs that start from, hey, we have a 3-day boot camp to we have a 3-month-long accelerator. And so just depending on the kind of needs that exist and the opportunities that exist, we can plug people into different types of programs. So I'll run through a few of these really quickly for you. The Transition Accelerator is one that we have run historically with a specific directorate within the Air Force. And we take people who are set up for a phase 2, so someone who's already received a phase 1 SBIR, STTR award, or is prepared for a direct to phase 2 award. And we run them through several months of training. And so this is definitely one where it's a high touch, longer commitment. But we work really closely with these companies to set them up for long-term success with something like our Transition Accelerator. Similarly, we have things like our Defense Accelerator, right? So similar concept, but not quite as long, just more like a couple weeks. And we meet virtually and do trainings that way. We've got Project Ingenuity, which Anissa mentioned and Lekeisha will talk about in a minute, specifically designed for Black, Latinx, and women entrepreneurs. And then we have things like SIBR-TAP. So SIBR-TAP is one that I wanted to spend some time on and talk to you all about in particular because we're recruiting for it right now. So SIBR-TAP is a week-long, essentially like a boot camp, if you want to think of it that way. And so we take anyone who has received or in the past or has an active Air Force SBIR, STTR, and we can actually put you through a training program that sets you up to get a phase 2. If you already have a phase 2 award, we have a separate set of curriculum for you all. And so SIBR-TAP is a great opportunity to get plugged into a cohort of people who are in a similar business stage as you and to learn more about your business model, more about your dual use business model and how to set yourself up for success with proposal writing tips and different things that we talk about all throughout the week there. So if you guys have any interest in some of the programs that we're talking about, please feel free. We'll put our chats in, or we'll put our emails in the chat for you so you can reach out to us. The last thing I'll mention here is our ESP program. So if any of you are in the state of Ohio, we'd love to talk to you about our ESP program because a lot of our training set folks up to become part of our portfolio. And so our ESP essentially means that through the state of Ohio, we are an entrepreneurial services provider. And so the state essentially like allows us to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so we can offer tons of resources to small businesses and startups through that program if you're in the state of Ohio. So again, a lot of opportunities to train here, and I'll push the opportunity for SIBR-TAP because that is something that is actively happening now. The spots are available. So if you are interested in partaking in that program, please feel free to shoot us a note. We'd love to talk to you a little bit more and get you plugged in with some support resources.
And just to kind of talk a little bit about Project Ingenuity. Project Ingenuity, to a large extent, is what happens immediately before SIBR-TAP almost. So Project Ingenuity was put in place to help more Black, Latinx, and women founders get involved in the SIBR community. So with that, if you're coming through Project Ingenuity, we're helping you kind of in a dual service way. We're giving you some of the elements that we're providing in that SIBR-TAP around understanding customer discovery, around getting comfortable with having those customer conversations or pre-customer conversations in the customer discovery portion. But we're also talking about proposal development. We're giving you the tips and tools to really help you create and develop a very strong initial proposal and also preparing you for what happens next. So that's one of the things that we really focus heavily on, as well as the exposure. A lot of exposure happens with the Project Ingenuity program from the beginning to the end, from the beginning of actually going to the webinars or the pre-webinars before the program actually happens, where it is a lot of education around what is SIBR. What different agencies are involved with the SBIR program. A lot of that happens at the very beginning of the Project Ingenuity piece. So even if you're not an actual participant going through the training of Project Ingenuity, there's so much information to be gained just by attending and being connected with us via the website and just getting all the information that's being pushed out through there. And then again, to Lauren's point of where she ended with SIBR-TAP. Once you go through Project Ingenuity, you're coming out with that phase 1, you're coming out with that phase 2. You can definitely come and talk to us and see us again as we help you get to either that phase 2 or that elusive phase 3. And I say elusive because it's not, we all know it's not completely a thing, but it is a thing. But we help you get there, and we help you just continue to move forward and in commercializing your technology.
Yeah, good point, Lekeisha. So you do not need to have had an Air Force contract, an SBIR, STTR, in order to participate in Project Ingenuity. You do need to have had one, even just a phase 1, to participate in SIBR-TAP. And I see David has asked for the link for Project Ingenuity, so we can drop that in the chat as well. We are not actively recruiting for that program right now. We actually just wrapped up a cohort of that for that program, but do stay tuned for future opportunities for Project Ingenuity in the future. And of course, it would not be Lekeisha and I on a webinar if we didn't actually try to make you guys do something like a workshop and actually give you something tactical and practical that you can work on while we talk to you today. So one of the tools we want to walk through with you just quickly is driving towards understanding a value proposition, right? And so why are we going to spend time on this? First of all, in order to have beneficial connections, you have to be able to communicate who you are and what you do. Now, one of the tools that we use is a pretty common tool, and I would encourage all of you to go Google this and look one up and download it, is the business model canvas. So the business model canvas, hopefully some of you have heard of this before. If you haven't, again, this is a strategizer tool. Strategizer is a great organization that puts out tons of free resources for startups and entrepreneurs to look at. This essentially is a one-page snapshot of your business plan. In each of these 9 boxes, there's a whole lot in each of them, right? Like you could have a huge document that delves into tons of details, but this is a really clear and concise way of looking at your business and understanding the scope of what you're trying to do. So on the right-hand side is some of like your customer relationships and customer segments of your channels, some of the outward facing things and how you interact with others. And the left-hand side of the tool is more of your internal functions, your key activities and resources that you need to actually, do your value proposition, to actually do the service or, have the product exist in the marketplace. And then it's all supported, of course, by the finances. So this is an awesome tool, and it actually has a what we call like an evil twin sister. It has what's called a mission model canvas version of it. And so the mission model canvas, also available if you Google it on Strategizer's website, is kind of a great way to look at this of saying, hey, if I were to have a snapshot of my business, but specifically if I'm targeting the government, because we all know when it comes to dual use technologies, you have one version of a business for working with commercial sector, and you might have a whole different way of doing business with the government. And so business model canvas is a great way to capture that for the commercial sector. Mission model canvas is a great way to then nuance that thinking for a military or government customer. Okay. And now what both of these have in common is that they have a value proposition in the middle and a customer segment box. So if we zoom in just on those 2 things, we get what's called the value proposition canvas. It's saying, what do I do? What do I offer? And to whom do I offer it? And how do those things match up? So the value proposition canvas is what we use to help us understand our value, again, to drive that clear messaging and to really find the details of how what we're offering matches up with the needs and benefits that our customer really, really wants, right? So Lekeisha, I'm not sure if we have a picture of the value proposition canvas in here to show everyone. There it is. So this is just kind of a zoom in on 2 of those boxes, right? So this is zooming in on the value proposition box and zooming in on the customer segment box. So if you were to look at your customer and say, who is my customer, whether that's your commercial customer or who you think is your customer within the government, and say, what are the jobs they're trying to accomplish? What are the gains that they hope to gain and achieve? And what are the pains that they face, whether it's in their routine or the existing infrastructure that they're working with? Like, what is it that I'm trying to innovate on, and where do their pains exist? And then we look at your product, your service, your innovation, and say, what gains can I create for my customer? What tasks does my product and service do that lines up with the jobs and routines of my customer? And what about those pain relievers that I can offer that directly align with some of the pains that my customer faces? And what we're trying to accomplish here is to have as much of these details sync with the other side as possible. And what you get there is a strong value proposition, right? And so your value prop, some of you maybe have heard of the phrase BLUF statement, BLUF. So that's bottom line up front. It's a common way of referring to your value proposition statement or your elevator pitch, but in the government sector. And so the DoD in particular uses that phrase of a BLUF statement to kind of be the same thing as your value proposition statement or your elevator pitch, right? And so this is an Ad-Lib that we have. I remember as a kid filling these out like in car rides, right? And so you have that piece of paper and you have your blanks and you fill them out with verbs and nouns and those things. It's kind of like a game. But what we wanted to show you today is that there is a way for you to create a value proposition that helps you really clearly and concisely drive messaging to your audience, right? Having such a clear and concise statement that gets across who you are, the job you can get done for someone, right? Like the task or like what your innovation does, how it does it, right? How it solves customer pains, how it creates gains for your customer, and how it's unlike what exists out there today for that customer is a great way to remove barriers, not only of jargon, but it kind of just helps you focus in and drive that clear messaging so that you can build the relationships you need. People understand who you are and what you do, and you can use this as a networking tool. right? And so Lekeisha has some examples that she's going to walk us through of some examples of a value proposition that does that exact same thing.
Okay, so we have a fake technology. So our fake technology, actually, we can really make it with this one, but we have a fake technology that is a fur activated smart dog collar. That the point of this is to actually decipher, it's called Decipher Dog, is to decipher the barks of your dog. So for one of our customer segments, it's your everyday dog owner. Right? It's your everyday dog owner. So our value proposition for the everyday dog owner is our fur activated smart dog collar helps millennial Fido fanatics who want to deepen their relationship with their dog by translating misunderstood barks and enabling two-way communication, unlike standard vanity collars. So one of the things that I want to point out about why we use this particular statement is that we're able to really dig in and let the person we're talking to know that we see them and we understand them in one very concise and simple sentence. In this one sentence, we told you who we're talking about and who we're talking to. We told you what we understand to be one of your significant issues and how we are trying to or plan to alleviate that pain. Right? So that's one. So another one of our customer segments is actually bomb units. And one of the issues, or I won't call it an issue, a hindrance with bomb units is that dogs are very much so trained with an individual handler. They're not able to be necessarily cross-trained with an entire, we'll say, force, for lack of a better term at this time. So with this one, if you look at this particular example, a lot of the things are still very much so the same. We're still, one of our, the pain we're solving is still the translating of the misunderstood barks. But you see, we identified a different game in that now we can have better communication with numerous individuals, right? Like instead of it just being working with that one handler, we've now expanded to now the difference with this particular one is that we're able to have better communication with numerous individuals, which will provide a lot of different impact throughout the force, because now you are talking about being able to give different, I lost my word, agents is not the proper word at this time.
Handlers.
Handlers, you able to give different handlers time off and things of that nature if you're in a high intense environment, because now we have multiple people who are able to actually do this job that weren't able to do it before. And then one of our last example is actually veterinarians. So, I know for any of us who are actually dog owners, pet owners, when you're taking your dog in, you're excited, not in a positive way. You're anxious. Anxious is probably a better word. You're anxious. Your pet is anxious. The veterinarian's anxious because you might want to fight them if they don't figure out what's wrong with your animal. So now in this case, again, we're still translating the misunderstood barks, but we're solving two different problems. The job to be done is actually increase efficiency and effectiveness of actual treatment. And what we're decreasing is diagnosis time, because now with the dog, us being able to decipher the dog barks, we can actually understand immediately or more quickly, I should say, instead of immediately, more quickly, what is actually going on with our pet. So now on to some networking tips.
Yeah, and thank you, Lekeisha. I love those examples because they're dual use, right? So that piece of fake technology that she and I came up with in a room at our office is actually a dual use technology, right? Like it services lots of different audiences, and we have slightly nuanced value statements or bluff statements and value propositions for each of those audiences. So once you have that statement in hand, right? Like once you understand the value that you create, for whom you create it, right? You know your customer segment, you know how you relieve pains and you create customer gains. Well, then you're equipped with this tool in your back pocket, right? Like you've got this one sentence that you can pull out, that you can use when you're networking with people. And so what I would say is just a general tip is have your value proposition statement, your bluff statement, your elevator pitch, have it memorized. Have the other people within your organization memorize it as well. so that when you are out and about and you meet someone and you're like, wow, this is a great person who might have some connections that can drive some meaning and opportunity for my organization, you can quickly, concisely, and clearly state what it is you do. That person can then turn around and be like, hey, I actually just met this person at this networking event. They do X, Y, and Z for X, Y, and Z customer. Like, I think that you should talk to them. You know what I mean? And so having that statement, that sentence that you can pull out, that you know that you have, you know that it's nuanced to the person you're talking to, that it's clear and concise, can help them, well, can help you network, but also can help them network on your behalf at the same time. And that's really the goal, is to win over those champions, even within the government, who understand what you do and for whom you do it, so that they can go be a champion and help you find end users to interview for customer discovery, for decision makers who might want to evaluate an opportunity with your technology or innovation, right? And so those are the people who you want to connect with, and using that is the best thing you can do to drive those meaningful connections, right? A couple other things that I wanted to mention, the S&T front door is something that I wanted to point out to you all. It's called Tech Connect, right? And so this is part of the 2030 strategy, is to create this front door mechanism where you all can actually go and you guys can share your idea, your technology with real people. Lekeisha and I actually know the people who run that team at AFWorks. I think Anissa knows them too, right? And so there are real people who will look at your technology and say, is there someone I can connect these people to? Is there an end user who can help them? Is there someone I can connect them to because this idea is something that we're interested in pursuing or talking to them more about? So Tech Connect, airforcetechconnect.org. Great place to go and submit your idea. Another great opportunity are things like coming to these events, networking, coming to these events, connecting with people like Anissa and her team, connecting with each other. You never know where there is a subcontracting opportunity or a partnership opportunity right here in this audience, right? There's 50 some of you online right now, and there's got to be somebody on here who you could connect with, not just for networking, but for working with each other too. And then other things like Tech Warrior. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Tech Warrior, but that's another great place where you can go and actually demonstrate some of your work. You can go and take your value proposition statement and go meet with end users, right? And tell them what you do and actually show them what you do too at Tech Warrior events. And so do continue to research these opportunities to get yourself out there, to network with people, and have things like that value prop in your back pocket that you have memorized, so that you can more accurately express what you do and network with people in a more meaningful way. Okay. Now we will take some questions. Lekeisha and I are here to hang out and talk to you guys. And so if you have questions, if you have questions that you're not comfortable asking in front of everyone, shoot us a note. Our emails are on here. Our LinkedIn's are on here. Connect with us. Shoot us a note, especially if you're interested in taking one of our programs like CyberTap or Project Ingenuity. Please reach out to us. But otherwise, we will take questions now. And Lynn and Anissa, I don't know if you want us to just stop sharing and if we have hands raised or we just look at the chat. But it may be, you know, it's a decent sized group. How do you guys typically take questions or want us to do that?
So whatever anybody's comfortable with, they can, you can raise your hand and we can call on you. If you would like to put your question in the chat, that's fine too.
Awesome. I'll pull up the chat and we can keep an eye on that to see if anyone has questions. Oh, and I see Amy. We know Amy. Hi, Amy. I know your goal is to demo at Tech Warrior. That's awesome. That's a great team to get connected with and to, you know, go show off your tech and meet some potential end users and decision makers.
Yeah, and we're making good connections. I mean, working with the Night Lab at AFRL for our drone technology that's a huge step forward for us, connecting with the right program manager at the Air Force Base. So I just kind of wanted to shout out, so Gonzalo Perez and I participated in Ingenuity in like the 3rd cohort for this last time, and I highly recommend it. I mean, I worked for the Air Force for 30 years, right? And I found a lot of value in it. And so it taught me not just about, I mean, the DoD is very close to us, but we got so much information about other agencies and you know, things keep changing also with the DoD and how they're doing their SBIR and STTR programs. So participating in these events, this event, I think, is one of the best regular events that we have. And I just found a lot of value out of Project Ingenuity. So let me just offer my thanks and praise. And we're extremely excited and hopeful and you know, and feel really good about what we just participated in.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So there you have it right there.
Thanks, Amy. And Amy, you mentioned Tech Warrior, and some may be wondering, hey, what is Tech Warrior? So Tech Warrior is an event that the Air Force puts on, and it's no cost to the small business or university, whoever wants to participate, and you get a chance to kind of test out and demonstrate your technology in an operational type of environment. We do it at the National Medical Readiness Center. We even have like fake, people injured or dead folks and bombs.
Dynamic avatars,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's great.
But you can kind of set up your test environment, and it's it's a great environment to test your technology because there's no retribution for it, right? And let's say you have a sensors and you haven't really tested it out. How does it work on the back of a Humvee, going 50 miles an hour down, in an operational type of environment. So it's a great way to test out, if you have students or anything that you're working on, you can kind of sign up for a Tech Warrior.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back there, and because there were events that we could watch, that we could observe, and we could talk to the operators who were actually participating. Like I said, I worked with the Air Force for 30 years, and we were talking about putting facilities like, the Center of Medical Readiness, or Calamityville, which a lot of us like to call it, so you go and they have turned over cars all over the place. So, but I'm very interested, if there's going to be a chance for people to go and observe again and to ask questions again, because that was really helpful too. I know.
Yeah. Totally. And I think Anissa made a really good point too, of saying that it's free to you. And so all of the resources that we've mentioned today, Tech Connect, Tech Warrior, SBIR Tap, Project Ingenuity, are free to you. And so do note that nothing we've mentioned today is a cost to you that you'd have to take under. These are things that, because the Air Force cares about small businesses and Anissa's team, like these are things that have been made available to you all. To help drive meaning, right? And like at a Tech Warrior event, it's a free way of getting customer discovery, right? And data that you could put into an SBIR, right? Or STTR, some solid data, numbers, proof of concept, that kind of a thing. So
yeah. And
any other questions?
Just these individual events are large scale, basically multiplayer games. So it's a large scale augmented reality, and they call it live virtual constructive. So that's one way to think about it. The Air Force has done several of these events, and they're participating now with several states actually in doing these large scale augmented reality events, and they're excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Do we have any other questions for Lekeisha and I, or Anissa?
Thanks, Amy, for sharing. Does anybody else that's on the line participated in any of our events that would like to share, their success stories or wins? We've had quite a few, but so I have a question for you, Lauren and Lekeisha. So if there's some PhD students, there's grad students, faculty that are kind of coming out of universities and research institutions, what type of resources are good or available for someone that may be in that situation? They're kind of spinning out their technology from that research institution and looking into going into the entrepreneur world. Would what you talked about today, would that be a good fit for them as well?
Yeah, I can take that one, Lekeisha. So I think that it's a great idea to take something like that and take it through a training program. right? If you think about it this way, research institutions have a lot of different things under their umbrella. But if you were to focus on one specific piece of technology and create what would essentially be an idea of a business model around that piece of technology, it's a great way to scope out the idea. And that's exactly where SyberTap kind of lives in terms of the timeline of venture creation. It's kind of that early stage idea scoping to say, hey, is there an inherent business value within this technology? Could I create a business model around this technology for the commercial sector and defense sector, or both, or one, right? And so taking an idea like that is a great way to, take SyberTap, take it through the program, see if you can build out that business model around the idea and see if there's something viable there for you. So definitely a good idea. I know that some of you are like, wait, but I thought you said that you have to have an SBIR in order to be able to participate. That is true. And that's why we're standing up programs like Project Ingenuity and some other things in the works to try to have something available to some of you that doesn't require a previous Air Force contract.
And just to add on to that, we just recently this year did a defense accelerator as well as a drone accelerator. So one of the great things about kind of connecting with myself and Lauren, whether it's via LinkedIn or just kind of getting with us via email, is so that as we have these other opportunities that come up, where we're able to partner with these other organizations to bring these additional accelerators, we're able to kind of put some of those things in motion. And the drone accelerator, we actually had someone who went through our drone accelerator in June, and we just got an email from them about 2 or 3 days ago where they're now going to be participating with us in SyberTap. And how these things just kind of rotate and go through. And when it comes to some of the research, if you're not quite at that SyberTap stage, some of the other accelerators that we are doing intermittently throughout the year might be a better fit to kind of get you engaged with us, especially for those that might not be in the Dayton area, in the Ohio area. Some of these other accelerators that we're able to do may be a great fit to kind of just begin that engagement. So that's why I say definitely connect with us, because as we have these opportunities come out, we're able to stay connected with you and continue to roll those things out to you.
Yeah, and it does look like we have a question in the chat from Reg. He asked, what if your technology is classified? And so that's a really interesting question. So if it's to the point where, like, even if you have a classified piece of technology, you still have a business that you need to run. And there's still some business acumen things that we teach in our trainings that would still be helpful to someone, even if your technology is classified and you can't exactly tell us a ton of details about that. I would say, like, in none of our trainings do we ask you to reveal any IP, any secret sauce, so to speak. So there's nothing like that we're asking anyone to share. But if it is to the point where you can't dig into who you service, your customer segment, customer discovery, even talking through their pain points and the gains and pains that you solve and create, there might be a little bit of an issue there. There's always the opportunity for different types of coaching that might just require an NDA or something. And that just depends on your situation, what kind of classification, if ITAR is involved, like we want to be respectful of your situation. And so there's always solutions that can be come up with. But again, in none of our trainings do we ask people to give away secret sauce. If it's classified, there's certain details that are withheld. And so we work with the DoD. We see a lot of that. And so we can always work with individuals to figure out what works best.
Great.
Any
I think
other
we have
questions?
we have about a couple of minutes left. I think Jamie wanted to jump in. She was having a hard time getting to the unmute button. If you wanted to jump in, Jamie. I'll give her a minute.
I got it. Sorry, gang.
No problem.
Nice to see you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Bowerman. I've done Tech Warrior. I can't recommend it enough. I've also done the SyberTap program. Ladies here was excellent. Big fan. I did a phase 1, phase 2 over pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, and just wrapped. But it's certainly my front door was through Tech Warrior and just testing the technology. And then they kind of help you through the process and do some technical experimentation events as well. So I'm a huge fan. It's certainly it doesn't happen overnight, but it's certainly well worth it if you stay in the fight there. So it's great to see everyone.
I was gonna say, I recognize that familiar face. It's good to see you, Jamie.
Sorry for the messy background. Yeah, this is me finishing these out today. So, but yeah,
Jamie's got an awesome physical product, and I actually met him at Tech Warrior. His vest, I was actually able to play with it and try it on and interact with it, which is the point. And then he came through Super Tap. So that's awesome. It's good to see you.
Great to see you as well. Thanks, everyone.
All right, well, that wraps up our time today. Thank you so much, Lauren and Lekeisha, for joining us today. Just as usual, providing just a wealth of information. But hey, when the real work starts is after the fact, taking this information, exploring your resources, making connections, networking, to ensure that you are kind of on the right path for your proposal development.
On call too.
And so with that, I think someone has a hot mic. But with that said, we will close it out for today. A lot of resources provided in the chat. I believe that slides will be sent to you. And so we will make sure that gets out to you. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and have a great week. Happy Veterans Day to all of the veterans that were.
Hold on a second. Let me see.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anissa. Thanks, team.
So
Nice to see
great.
everybody.